Hydrogen water is all of a sudden blown up. It's everywhere. We see Zac Efron and Kim Kardashian and Joe Rogan all talking about the benefits of hydrogen water.
I've been almost 20 years in this space. We're now finally getting to the point of where it's becoming known to normal people.
A little bit about some of the therapeutic benefits that you've seen in your practice from people who are taking hydrogen water. Welcome to the Longevity Project, the podcast where we explore all things holistic living. I'm Gary B., your guide to a healthier, fuller life. Let's get started. All right. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're excited to invite a very popular guy. He's tough to get to and tough to get on podcasts these days because he's so busy. Let's welcome Dr. Paul Barattiero. Dr. Paul, you are the current king of hydrogen water and all water. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Gary. It's a pleasure.
So can you start by, because hydrogen water is all of a sudden blown up. It's everywhere. We see Zac Efron and Kim Kardashian and Gary Brecka and Joe Rogan all talking about the benefits of hydrogen water. And it seems to be buzzing, but it's not new to you. Give people a little bit of your background and how long you've been working in this space and how you got started.
Yeah, so I've been almost 20 years in this space. Basically, I developed the first hydrogen water system, and we're now finally getting to the point of where it's becoming known to normal people. Before it was growing. And last year we saw an increase of searches on the internet on hydrogen water. They were up 1,000% in 2023. And now in 2024, they're up even more. So I'm very excited about this. I've spent my life focused on educating on hydrogen. And it all kind of started with my wife. The reason that I got involved was because I was helping my wife.
And I know you've spoken of this before. Your wife had a health journey of her own, and not just your wife, but you're a practitioner, you're a doctor, so it's not like you're a water inventor and engineer. So, Dr. Paul, let's talk a little bit about the therapeutic benefits of hydrogen water and what you've seen in your long history in this, in building this kind of a water company. What have you noticed, and what do the studies say?
Yeah, so there are now 1,335 studies, about 223 human studies, and we have around 130 to 150 human disease models that hydrogen is therapeutic with or beneficial for. And the reason that's the case is all disease, there is two things that cause disease, and this is what I really want people to understand, is the combination of oxidative stress and chronic inflammation is the leading cause of disease. Whatever disease it is, those are the reasons: oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. Hydrogen reduces oxidative stress and inflammation, and that's why you see so many disease models benefited by hydrogen.
Can you give us a few examples of where one might benefit from drinking hydrogen water?
Yes, just about every disease you could imagine, from anyone that has a disease of any kind, it would be benefited by hydrogen. There are 119 studies currently on cancer, different types of cancer. And what we are seeing is that there's a huge benefit with cancer, and one of the primary reasons is hydrogen turns back on apoptosis. Now, for those of you that know what apoptosis is, you understand what I just said. For those of you that don't, apoptosis is a natural process in the body where when your cells are duplicating inappropriately, they will destroy themselves. When a cell becomes cancerous or a cancer cell, somehow apoptosis is turned off. So those cells don't destroy themselves, and so they continue to divide and multiply. With hydrogen turning apoptosis back on, those cells will destroy themselves. So it's very powerful from a cancer perspective. So there are studies on multiple types of cancer, and then there's 62 studies on diabetes. So it's beneficial with type 2 diabetes and type 1 diabetes. Also, Parkinson's. There are just over 20 studies on Parkinson's and the neuroprotective effects of hydrogen. And so we can go on and on with different disease models, any disease you can imagine. There are a lot of studies on heart issues. There are studies, a lot of the diabetes studies and other studies show a reduction of cholesterol. Because you're reducing oxidative stress systemically, you're going to reduce cholesterol. And the reason being is cholesterol was put there by the body to keep the veins and vessels from hemorrhaging. And so the body will take back the cholesterol when it's not needed anymore. So I've seen 15% reduction in cholesterol with individuals that are drinking the water. Joint issues. A lot of studies on joint issues. Rheumatoid arthritis, for example, people that have arthritic conditions, that's all oxidative stress and inflammation. And so hydrogen is very therapeutic for joint issues and other things. Finally, the one I'll talk about is related to fatigue, but it's really energy levels, mitochondrial function, having the right energy to be able to live life and do what we want to do. It's really, really impactful that we can have the energy to do the things we want to do and live the life we want to live and not be tired all the time. And then for those people that are athletes, the recovery times are cut in half, so that's a wonderful benefit. And my personal favorite is the gut recovery. I believe, as a medical professional, all issues, all these disease models, all issues, immune function issues, whatever it is, it all stems from dysfunction in our gastrointestinal tract, or what we call our gut. That's where I believe all of it starts. That's where the problems begin. And so, hydrogen can assist or help the body in restoring proper gut function. And so, there are a lot of people, and this is no guarantee, but there are a lot of people that have gluten and dairy intolerance or allergies to gluten and dairy. When you're drinking the water, many of them say, again, no guarantees, but many of them say after drinking the water with hydrogen, of the Echoo water, for 2 weeks, diligently, they have either less reaction to gluten and dairy, or they can eat gluten and dairy without any inflammation. So these are huge benefits for people.
Can you just follow up and tell us a little bit about how much do you really need to drink daily to have that therapeutic benefit?
Absolutely. So I would say a minimum of 16 ounces a day, but really I would recommend people do that 3 times a day. 16 ounces of water with a therapeutic amount of hydrogen in it 3 times a day. And of course, there is no negative to drinking more than that. I would spread it out during the day. Don't go get a big jug and just chug it all at one time. Space it out every 2 hours where you have the water. But I would definitely say that this you should be drinking, especially in the beginning, you should be drinking it throughout the day.
Okay, I was preparing for this interview and I noticed, I was kind of surprised that, because I'm bombarded in my social feeds with hydrogen water, but actually this has been around for quite a while. And from what I was able to research, it's going back into the 40s in Japan, but it may even go back further than that. What's the history and why has it been dormant for all of these years?
That's an excellent question. It does go back to Japan to 1940s and 50s, and I'll explain that in a second. But the person who gets the credit for discovering water electrolysis is a doctor in London. Dr. Anthony Carlisle was a surgeon in London, and my understanding is he went to a conference in 1798, and they were talking about hydrogen as an antioxidant. So in 1800, that was a while ago, right? In 1800, he discovered water electrolysis because he was trying to get hydrogen gas out of water. And so he is the one that discovered water electrolysis. And so nothing happened after that until roughly 1950 when a doctor in Japan, Mashisuwa, decided he wanted to take that research that Dr. Carlisle had done and he wanted to see what this water that he called synol liquid, he actually termed it synol liquid, I don't know why, and he put it on rice to see if it would improve rice cultivation in small batches and small studies. And he was able to observe that the rice, the quality of the rice and the performance of the rice growing improved. So after seeing that, he then went to other plants, animals, and then by 1950, he was doing human trials. So 1930, he started testing. By 1950, he went into a human trial all the way to 1965. So you had a 15-year human trial after he had spent 20 years observing benefits of hydrogen from 1930 to 1950. And then they started giving patients in hospitals that water, what he called synol liquid, and they were able to observe that it cured improper fermentation in the gut. That's what they ended up stating. The Japanese Ministry of Health and Welfare said it cured improper fermentation in the gut. Well, that's everything, because that's how the gut works. We ferment food, and as a process, if we're fermenting food properly, then we don't have food allergies, we don't have problems. And what that requires is the proper bacteria in the gut. So they didn't know how yet, but what they observed was that hydrogen somehow fixed gut issues so that you had the right bacteria that could then ferment food properly.
It's crazy that it's taken 200 plus years, over 200 years, for it to actually reach some sort of critical mass.
I know.
Seems to be a recurring trend in medicine that there's a lot of the ancient, doctors had always pointed to the gut as being a center for disease, and it's taken us a long time to get to this point now that studies are actually proving a lot of this out.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, it was another gentleman in Japan that woke the rest of the world up again. And there was a study published in 2008 and 2009, and it showed that hydrogen was a selective antioxidant. And that's kind of what freaked doctors and medical professionals, scientists out, because they're like, wait a minute, if it's a selective antioxidant, that means it's only going after the bad things, the radicals that are bad. And so that study, which was 2008 and 2009, oh my gosh, it blew up. And so that's why we have 1,300 studies in the last few years showing benefits with just about everything in the human body.
Okay, so let's talk about your device that's blowing up the internet. Sure. This is Echoo Go. You have a number of devices. You have actually a full sort of under sink and a countertop device. You have sort of been developing a lot of different hydrogen generating waters, but this one is taken off because of its portability, I believe. But I'm wondering if you can kind of explain, because we keep talking about hydrogen water, but really water is part hydrogen. So I flunked chemistry. So maybe you can give us a quick sort of understanding about how am I getting more hydrogen when it already has hydrogen?
So that is a big question people ask, because there's a lot of confusion around water in general, but especially when it comes to hydrogen water. That's probably the number one thing people say is, doesn't water already have hydrogen? And here's the reality. Hydrogen and oxygen are gas. When they combine, they form a liquid. They're no longer gas. So you don't really have hydrogen and oxygen in water. You have hydrogen gas and oxygen gas bonding to create a liquid, and it's now a new substance. What we are doing in the bottle you're holding up and in our hydrogen modules, our proprietary hydrogen modules, we are taking a small number of water molecules and we're separating them back into gas form, hydrogen, oxygen. We're sending oxygen out to the atmosphere where people can drink, breathe it, and we're dissolving the H2 or the hydrogen gas into the water. That's what we're doing. You do not have hydrogen gas in water naturally, except for in a few places in every country in the world. So in the United States, we have two or three sources of water that actually has hydrogen. Japan, if you go to Mount Fuji, there's hydrogen at the top in the water there. You go to India, for example, there are some rivers that they have found hydrogen gas in. Mexico, France, there's different parts of the world where you have what's been called healing waters, and I don't know that they ever understood there was hydrogen in those waters, but people will go bathe, people will go get in these waters, and it would help skin condition, it would help other things. And now we know that there are hydrogen in many of those naturally occurring water sources. So what we're actually doing is dissolving hydrogen gas, H2, into water. And when you drink that, it gets into your body, and hydrogen is able to do all the things that hydrogen needs to do.
Okay, so I'm excited because I know you're developing, a bath water machine, so you can bring those magical waters to your home eventually. It's probably a little bit more expensive, but for this device, which I've been using for the past few weeks, I've actually found it to be quite a little remarkable device because you can get a quick sort of on the go. I take it with me before I do workouts. I use it after my workout, so I don't have to sort of be stuck at home on a machine. But I do know it has a couple of settings, and I do know it produces a certain parts per million of hydrogen, depending on how you set it. But can you explain that and why this is so different than the other, alleged hydrogen generators out there on the market?
Yes. When Gary Brecka started talking about Echoo as a brand and went on Joe Rogan's podcast and talked about it, it blew up. The unfortunate thing is many other companies took those videos, took those things that were wonderful work that Gary had done, I had done, and they edited them so that they could use it to promote their own knockoff bottles. So I'll speak to what I mean by knockoffs, because there are some very inexpensive bottles on, Amazon and other places on the internet, and unfortunately, they don't produce much hydrogen at all. So I'm going to talk about that. This bottle, the Echoo Go, you can see it. It does look similar, and this is where the problem comes. It looks similar when it's on a screen, a computer screen, to other bottles that are black and clear, because of course they wanted to copy as closely as they could to our bottle, but it's not our bottle. So what happens when you get this bottle is, first of all, when you push the button once, you can see that there's a timer that comes right on the screen at 5 minutes. You can see all the hydrogen going in. You can see all those bubbles. On the bottom right here is a port. That's where the oxygen is coming out, and just the hydrogen gas is going in. If we were to push this power button a second time, you notice it goes to 10 minutes. So on the 5-minute cycle, they will get roughly 2.5 parts per million of hydrogen gas. On the 10-minute cycle, they will get 4.5 parts per million. Now, that is incredible because we've tested over 20 bottles from other companies, and they usually are around maybe a half a part per million, which is a tenth of what we do in this bottle. So it's really important that you buy the original, the number one bottle sold in the world, and the one that is truly hydrogen, because these other bottles can create chlorine. The inexpensive bottles will create chlorine. They will create hypochlorous acid. They don't produce much hydrogen. They produce a little, but not much. So don't be tricked into purchasing an inferior product for less money. These typically run, if they were on special or something, they're about $249, and sometimes there's discounting, so you can pay attention to that. But if you think about all the diseases that I talked about, if you think about all the issues that this helps, this is maybe one place where you don't want to find the least expensive one on the market and go with that, because I promise you, it will not have the efficacy as this bottle does. So don't get tricked. We have people that go on our Facebook page and say, I bought this other bottle, don't do it, I didn't feel anything, and then I bought the Echoo Go Plus, and I feel such a difference in the first day. It's your health, it's your life, it's your brain, heart, guts, it's your organs. I would spend a little more and get the actual one that's going to help you. But that's the big difference. The big difference is we have the oxygen port. We're taking the oxygen out. The other companies, when you push the button, for example, you'll see bubbles. It'll look the same, but it's not just hydrogen. It could be hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, hypochlorous acid. Who knows what's in there? There's even a bottle on the market that only has platinum on one of their electrodes, not both of the electrodes, because they're just trying to cheapen it. And so that's a problem. Now you have titanium in the water, and if you get titanium in your body, that's toxic. So just be careful. All the bottles are made in China. So there is no bottle not made in China at this time. So there's some people on the internet saying, oh, bottles are made in China. All of these bottles are made in China. And we make this in China, and we sell 25,000 of these a month. Please understand, there are people that are getting benefits from it, and you can trust it. One thing I would also say is this is plastic. A lot of people talk about glass. They want glass. I do too. I always think glass is better, but we can't use glass because it will shatter. The pressure which we exert on this, we've tested it, we've tried, it shatters the glass. The ones that are glass on the market, they're not producing much hydrogen. Otherwise, the glass would shatter in their units. And we've tested them. They're very low from a hydrogen perspective. So we do use a food-grade polycarbonate plastic that does not have BPAs in it. You don't have bisphenol A and these kind of plasticizers that are in there. So you're also not heating this up, so you're not going to get plastics in your water because you're not heating it. So it is safe. It is wonderful. And if you drop it, it's not going to break either. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. I've been doing this a long time. And trust me, we've tried everything that you're thinking of that would be wonderful. We've tried it, and what we have come out with is the perfect bottle. And we continue to advance technology. And as we do that, ride along with us as we advance technology, as we continue to evolve.
Okay, I want to get into a little controversy here because I know there are other companies out there that have been around for a while. Some of them start with a letter K that are selling these very expensive alkaline producing machines that help. They're marketing to sort of cancer patients and people to prevent cancer, and so I'm trying to understand the sort of the science behind this, but maybe you could talk a little bit about how your machines are a little different and what to look out for when you're spending a lot of money on these machines.
Well, I'm going to lump all of the other companies that have alkaline machines into one group because they all use a technology that we call electrolysis. And we talked about Anthony Carlisle before that discovered water electrolysis in 1800. And water electrolysis was wonderful. There are some inherent weaknesses. And let me explain what those are, because it's really important that you understand the device that you have. If you're someone that's purchased one of these alkaline water machines for thousands and thousands of dollars, you want to protect your investment. Unfortunately, there is an inherent weakness in electrolysis based on natural law. And what I mean by natural law is like gravity, for example. You're not going to overcome gravity, right? You can do things to overcome it, but you're never going to overcome it. And thank goodness we have it, or we'd all be floating around. The reality is there's another natural law, which is attraction. When things are positively charged and negatively charged, they have an attraction like a magnet attracts. And you never can undo that attraction. It's natural law. In these alkaline systems, they have electrodes. And these electrodes are either negatively charged or positively charged. If they're negatively charged, they're called a cathode. If they're positively charged, they're called an anode. in the electrolysis system, off of the cathode is supposed to come hydrogen, and off of the anode would come oxygen. And so this is the way these systems work. When you move hydrogen to one side and you move oxygen to another side, you change the pH of the water. Now, spoiler alert, there is no benefit to the human body of drinking higher pH water, medically speaking. You may get a slight buffering of stomach acid, but there really is no medical benefit. And for some people who cannot produce HCl, giving them water at a higher pH, it puts a burden on them, because now you've lowered their pH in their stomach, or increased their pH in their stomach, and they can't lower it back down. And that's a major problem for digestion and for other issues. So you don't want to be taking alkaline things. And I know you've heard 1,000 times alkaline, alkaline, alkaline. There's no such thing as alkaline foods that grow on the planet. There's no such food that is higher than a 7 pH that grows on this earth. It is man-made. Things that are alkaline are man-made. So in these systems, when you're running your water through that has minerals, calcium, potassium, magnesium, they are positively charged. Minerals have a positive charge. When you have the negative electrode called the cathode, those minerals go right to that electrode and they want to bond, because it's like a magnet. They're going to bond. Within 2 to 6 weeks of having a system like you talked about, Gary, and there are several brands, but there is one that's the largest we know, and within 2 to 6 weeks, you'll have mineral deposits on the cathode, and once you have that, you can no longer dissolve hydrogen gas. So people that are buying these machines, Gary, when they're brand new, these machines produce great hydrogen. Within a number of weeks, they are no longer able to dissolve the hydrogen gas, and so those benefits go away. And if people will look in the warranty of the big company you were talking about that starts with a K, if they look in the warranty, they'll see that it says you need to clean it every 2 weeks if you want hydrogen. No one's cleaning their machines every 2 weeks. No one's doing it. And so, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that spend a lot of money wanting to have benefits, and they will not have them because the hydrogen is gone. So what's different about the machine that I developed many years ago? We have a proprietary hydrogen module. It only creates hydrogen gas in the chamber. So water goes in the chamber, oxygen gas goes out one direction, hydrogen goes the other direction, and then we combine that hydrogen with a separate stream of water that was never in the chamber. So that's another big benefit. The water that you're drinking in our machines never was in an electrolysis chamber or electrolytic type chamber at all. It is pure water that's gone through combining with hydrogen gas, and then it goes through a dissolving chamber. There's multiple patents on this unit protecting it, but that's what the pathway is. The water is combined with hydrogen gas, goes through a dissolving chamber, and up and out to you. So it is the only system in the world where you cannot have problems with these minerals causing problems, because the water never even touches the cathode in our chamber. So it's impossible for minerals to get on it if water's never touching it. So it's a proprietary module. It is there to produce hydrogen. It does not change pH. It's a completely different engineering than in an alkaline water machine. That's why it's a hydrogen machine. And it's the only true hydrogen machine in the world.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. You're talking about the big machine. And do these handheld portable devices also alternate the polarity between the cathode and anode, so they don't need to,
and neither do our machines that are making hydrogen water. So in the three machines, we have the server, the H2 machine, and the ultimate. They all make hydrogen water with the same module, and there is no need to ever reverse polarity because you're never having mineral buildup. In the ultimate, and that's the only machine we have that can make alkaline and acid water and does make excellent alkaline and acid water, we have a patented process that reverses the polarity of those electrodes I was telling you about, the cathode and the anode. Every time you use the ultimate machine, there are 9 electrodes in the chamber making the alkaline water. So in that ultimate, we have a hydrogen module and we have an alkaline acid chamber. 2 separate engines in that machine. In the alkaline chamber, those 9 electrodes are all changing polarity every time you turn that machine on. That makes it impossible for the minerals to ever bond. That's why we have machines that are 12 years old, still perfectly clean electrodes and producing hydrogen no problem. But we still don't recommend people drink alkaline water. In that ultimate, the drinking water is still the hydrogen water. The reason we make the alkaline and acid is for cleaning and disinfecting. If people want to wash their face with the acid water, rinse their mouth, clean their counters, that's really what that is for.
Okay, so that's a good segue because I do want to talk about another device that you guys sell, which I'm also been really fascinated with. So this is called the Echoo Clean,
Yeah.
and this is also a electrolysis water device that you put water in. It can create hypochlorous acid and also another form of like almost chlorine rich water if you add salt.
Right.
Is that right?
That's correct. So hypochlorite.
Again, I flunked chemistry just to be clear.
That's okay.
So hypochlorite, sodium hypochlorite and hypochlorous acid, one device that produces both. And you can use it for a variety of purposes. Do you want to talk about those for a minute?
So what I just talked about in the ultimate machine for what's called, some people call beauty water or acid water, that device makes that, but it's even in a more controlled environment. So, and it's in a very convenient spray bottle. So for cleaning, it's amazing. What you do with that device is you put tap water in it, or water in general, and when you push the button, it's going to come on for 3 minutes. It's going to create hypochlorous acid water. So if you don't put any salt in it, you will have hypochlorous acid water. Now, what is hypochlorous? HOCl. You can study hypochlorous acid. It's a very powerful disinfectant. It's what the EPA is really wanting for food, cafeterias, any food preparation. Instead of bleach, they want restaurants and food prep areas to use hypochlorous acid. It's far more effective and better for the environment because it's non-toxic. So hypochlorous acid is anywhere from 80 to 200 times more kill spectrum than bleach. So first of all, the ability for it to disinfect is hugely superior to bleach. Now, if you add salt into it, then you have what's called sodium hypochlorite and you would have hypochlorous acid. This just gives it a little more oomph because you're actually creating not bleach but chlorine in the water, and it can have even more of a kill spectrum. Because you're adding salt, salt is NaCl, and one of that Cl is a chloride, or what you could say is a chlorine, will be converted to a chlorine. That's how these devices will create hypochlorous acid. It's chlorides in water. They're naturally occurring chlorides in water, and that's how you're creating the hypochlorous acid without adding salt. When you do add salt, you're just throwing a ton more chlorides that will turn into chlorines when it goes through electrolysis. So that's really how you're able to do that. So what's my recommendation of use? If you get the Echoo Clean, which is very inexpensive and it's amazing disinfectant, we've got EPA registration on it and all this stuff. The reality is, if you're using it for skin, eyes, for pink eye or blepharitis, dry eye, or using it in the mouth, these kind of things, don't add salt. That was the Echoo Clean. If you were wanting it for hard surfaces, countertops, handrails, doorknobs, things like this, even like chiropractors use it for their treatment tables, and massage therapists use it and all these things, then go ahead and add salt, because then you have a bigger kill spectrum. And so hard surfaces, you can use salt. For the skin, body, if you have food poisoning and you're drinking it, don't use salt.
Okay, great. So just a couple last questions that we get often asked by us, which is that going back to the Echoo Go Plus, this item ships, and we get some questions back from people saying, like, mine came with a little bit of water in it. Was it used? And what should I do? Can I return it because it was refurbished? And I need you to sort of talk a little bit about why that is, and then other sort of ways we can keep this bottle clean.
Absolutely. So it is a proton exchange membrane that is inside of here. And so that membrane needs to stay moist. So when we ship these, there is a little plastic piece that screws in and holds distilled water in. So it is filled at the factory with distilled water into the chamber, and then there's a nice little cover that's put over that area to keep the water in. It is not used. We don't sell used products ever. They are tested twice, individually. Every single bottle is tested, and then once the testing is done, then the distilled water is put in, and then a little cover is put. And so you need that. You don't want the membrane to dry out, otherwise it doesn't work as well. And then you have to put warm water, hot water in it and reactivate that membrane. So that does not indicate it's used. That just means we want to keep it fresh and ready for you. When you get the bottle, the battery is 3/4 charged, so you can use it right away. As far as cleaning goes, the lid comes off here. You can clean the inside. We do give an extra little silicone ring. You can see that white silicone ring in there. We give you an extra one in the package. You can hand wash that. You can remove that little silicone ring and get underneath it if from time to time. This bottle, please hand wash it. Don't put it in the dishwasher. Just use a mild detergent like a dish detergent or what have you, and you can clean it. This piece will come separate in the box, so this is a piece, this is a piece, this is a piece. There are 3 pieces, and so you can easily clean them. When it comes to the generator, please don't ever submerge it. You do have a USB-C charger here, and you don't want to submerge any of this. And really, if you're using distilled or reverse osmosis or what we call pure water, you should not have the need to clean it very often. If you're using water that's filtered but has high mineral content, minerals can end up building in on the electrode. And if that does, you can pour a little vinegar in there, or you can use a citric acid solution, but vinegar is easier. And just get and the way you'll know that is if you look in the bottom and you see white deposits, that's obviously calcium. You'll want to put a little vinegar in there. But these devices do not have a filter, so you cannot put tap water. You have to put water that is already filtered. And I would say the more filtered, the better. Please don't put water with contaminants in here and then drink it. You don't want your body to be a filter. You want to get a filter. So filter out the contaminants before they get to your body.
Okay, great. Well, we've learned a lot today. I feel like I can go back and take some, remedial testing in my chemistry. But tell us, what's coming down the pike for Echoo Water. I don't know if you want to sort of mention some of these secret projects you're working on, but what else can we look forward to coming from your company?
So we just launched the bath unit called Echoo Revive. It's on the website now, and very soon we're going to have the inhalation unit that people will be able to breathe gas. I feel like water is more effective because you're hydrating, you're fixing the gut, you're getting everything in the body done, but there are some people that want to, in addition to drinking water, they want to put a cannula and breathe in hydrogen. So we'll have those units available in the near future. So that's very exciting. And then we have some other things I won't mention yet because I don't want to drive any confusion. But just stay tuned. We are always improving technologies. We are always the hydrogen leader, and we will continue to be the largest company in the world and the leader in the space of hydrogen water and the original. I started lecturing on 2008, 2009 on hydrogen. I'm sure nobody remembers hearing about it then, but that's when I started. Lecturing on hydrogen was way back then, And we've just continued to increase. And I think in the next 2 years, it's going to explode. People are going to begin to understand all the benefits of hydrogen water. I'm excited to watch it. I've worked hard over all these years to come out with these products. And it all started with my wife's health, and by improving her health and then understanding what improved her health, I was able to create these things. You were correct, Gary. I didn't wake up one day and go, I want to have a water machine or whatever. It really was a result of helping my queen. We've been married 30 years now. In the first 10 years, she had a lot of issues: thyroid, anemia, gynecological issues, just not good things. And so it was able to help her just like it can help you. And so grateful to hopefully educate someone, and please tell everybody you know. So I've been doing this almost 20 years, trying to utilize water to improve health. Echoo, as a brand, has 12 years now. We're the original, we're the largest, we're the company you can trust. Most people that are in the world of hydrogen, they know about Echoo, and they use our devices in their homes. So please take this opportunity to at least get an Echoo Go Plus and see the benefits you'll have, your family can have. And remember, I've been married 30 years now, but the first 10 years, my wife had horrible medical issues with gynecological issues, thyroid, anemia, horrible menstrual cycles. And so I was able to help her. And after helping her, we developed these products. And so understand, this is why I did it. Not because I want to have a water company someday, but it was really to help my wife. And then I thought, wow, there's got to be a lot of other people that need this. So please take this information, please utilize it, and please tell others. Our greatest weakness is education. We need everyone to know that the issues they struggle from and suffer from can be helped in most cases with hydrogen water.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Paul, thank you for being on today. We appreciate the work that you're doing and look forward to what's coming down the pike.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Longevity Project. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and the show, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by the amazing Drake Peterson and edited by Ishan Sapien. See you next time. The content on the show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.